In the quiet stillness of this moment, we begin a journey of awakening, of rediscovering the sacred path that leads to creation. You stand now at the threshold of your truest self, ready to embark on a path where resistance, that hidden force, shall no longer hold you back. In this sacred space, we embrace the silence that births all creation. We welcome the flow of divine energy, for it is in stillness that we find our deepest truths, our greatest potential. You may have heard the call before, the call to create, to give birth to something meaningful in the world. Yet, something has always stood in your way. That force resistances, the unseen enemy that keeps you from stepping into your own power. It whispers in your ear, fills you with doubt, and entices you with distraction. It is the voice that says, not now, not you, not yet, but now, in this very moment, you have decided to face it. You have chosen to hear the quiet voice of your inner calling, rising above the noise. This is your invitation to step beyond the veil of fear and resistance, and to walk toward your destiny, not through struggle, but through stillness and grace. This is the moment where everything shifts. The battle is not against external forces, but within, against the doubts, the distractions, and the habits that keep you from your true purpose. In silence, we find our strength. In stillness, we find our clarity. In this sacred space, we leave behind the noise of the world and reconnect with the divine flow that has always been within us. The force of resistance cannot stand against the quiet power of your inner self when you choose to walk in alignment with your higher calling. Take a deep breath and let go of all distractions. Let go of the resistance that has kept you bound. In inertia, feel the lightness that comes with letting go, with surrendering to the divine rhythm of creation. In this silence, you are safe. You are held. You are exactly where you need to be. Now, as you listen to these words, remember, you are not alone in this journey. The universe is here, the cosmic forces are here, and the muse awaits. The path to creation is not one of hustle and force, it is a quiet, sacred unfolding. The journey begins now, in this moment of stillness, where everything you need to create is already within you. You are about to step into a new chapter. The noise of doubt, fear, and resistance will fade away, leaving space for clarity, inspiration, and purpose. Trust in the process. Trust in the unfolding. Let the silence of this moment guide you to your next step. Invitation to inner stillness as you settle deeper into this moment. I invite you to open your heart and mind to the sacred silence that surrounds you. It is within this silence that all things are born, ideas, creations, and the very essence of life itself. In the quiet, you begin to hear the whispers of the universe, the call of your higher self, urging you to embark on this sacred journey of creation. The world may often tempt you with noise, with distraction, and with the ceaseless drive to do more, be more, achieve more. But in this space, we release that urge. Here, in a peace of stillness, we cultivate the true essence of prosperity, not the fleeting kind that comes from external recognition or worldly success, but the deep, spiritual prosperity that flows from within. In this stillness, there is no rush. There is no forceful striving. You are invited to soften your approach and listen with the ears of your soul. This journey is not one of constant action, but one of quiet, deliberate steps that align with your deepest desires. The work you are about to undertake will not be born from external pressure, but from the calmness and wisdom that resides within. Feel how your body relaxes as you breathe deeply, grounding yourself in the present moment. Release the tension in your mind, the weight of expectations, and the heaviness of self-doubt. Let the noise of the outside world fade into the distance, leaving only the pure, crystalline silence that connects you to your true nature. In this space, you are free. As you move forward, remember that this journey is not one of struggle. Resistance will appear, but it will not overcome you. You will recognize it for what it is, a temporary force that seeks to pull you away from your purpose. Yet, in the stillness, you will see it clearly, and you will choose to rise above it. For in the silence, there is strength, there is clarity, and there is the path forward. Know that you are divinely supported in this endeavor. The universe, with all its infinite wisdom, is on your side. When you choose to walk the path of creation, you align yourself with the forces of nature that will guide you to success. But success, in this context, is not defined by outward achievements alone. It is the fulfillment of your soul's purpose, the quiet satisfaction of knowing you have stayed true to your calling. In the stillness, your true potential is revealed. Let go of the urgency to achieve, and simply be present with the work at hand. Trust that the journey will unfold as it is meant to. Trust that every step, every effort, every moment of focus brings you closer to your creative truth. As you sit in this silence, feel the power of your own creative energy. It is vast, it is infinite, and it is yours to tap into at any moment. This is the energy that will fuel your journey, the quiet, unwavering force that carries you through challenges and obstacles, lifting you higher with every step, setting the spiritual path and trusting the journey now. As you settle even deeper into this sacred space, let the truth of your creative journey reveal itself. In this moment, you are free, free from the pressures of the world, free from the heavy weight of expectations, and, most importantly, free from resistance. It is no longer your enemy but a shadow to be recognized and transformed. You are not here to force, to strive, or to battle endlessly. The path ahead does not demand the noise of frantic action. It does not call for the empty hustle of external success. Instead, this journey asks you to trust. Trust in the silent power that resides within you, the quiet strength that emerges when you align with your true purpose. The path to your creative work is not linear, will have twists, turns, and moments of doubt, but in this silence, there is a profound knowing that you are exactly where you need to be. Trust that every moment of quiet introspection, every gentle step, brings you closer to the work you are meant to create. The universe is already set, everything in motion, and it is now your turn to follow its flow. Let go of the idea that success must look a certain way, or that your creative journey must mirror the paths of others. Your path is unique as the work you are meant to bring into the world. Each step you take, no matter how small, is part of the grand design, the divine rhythm that is unfolding for you. You have chosen this journey, and with this choice comes the commitment to trust. Trust that your actions will align with the divine timing of the universe. Trust that the work you are creating is not just for you, it is for the world. It will serve others in ways you may not yet understand, but it is important nonetheless, and it will happen, not through force, but through your steady commitment and presence. As you stand at this crossroads, realize that you are part of something much greater than yourself. The work you are about to embark upon is not only an expression of your creativity, but a sacred offering to the world. Every act of creation is an act of divine alignment, a step closer to the harmonious flow of the universe. You are not alone. In this process, the divine forces, the muse, the infinite energies of the cosmos, are all aligned with your journey. The resistance you feel is merely the veil that covers the true potential of your creativity. And now, in this moment of silence, you can pull back that veil and step into the truth of who you are: a creator, a channel of divine inspiration, a warrior in the battle against resistance. As you move forward, remember that you are not rushing. This is not a race. You are simply aligning yourself with the flow of creation, trusting the process as it unfolds. Know that in each moment of stillness, you are exactly where you need to be. Every step you take is a step toward the fulfillment of your creative purpose. Every day you choose to face resistance and show up for the work. You are creating space for abundance to flow freely into your life. So, take this moment to breathe deeply and feel the sacredness of the work ahead. Feel the peace that comes with trusting your own process. Let go of the need for immediate results, for recognition, or for external validation. The true reward lies in the journey itself, in the quiet, sacred steps of creation. Now, as we begin this journey together, remember that you have already won. The simple act of showing up, of committing to the work, is your victory. All that is left is to continue walking the path, with faith, with grace, and with quiet strength. You are already aligned with your purpose, and everything you need to create is within you, ready to unfold. Chapter 1. Resistance. Defining the enemy, the nature of resistance. In the quiet stillness, we come face to face with the first true adversary on our journey, the enemy that hides in the shadows, the one that causes us to falter before we begin. This enemy is not external, but internal. It is an invisible force that manifests as fear, doubt, procrastination, and distraction. It is the voice that whispers, "You are not enough. It's not the right time. You are too weak, too busy, too inexperienced." This force is called resistance. Resistance is subtle. It does not always show itself as a loud, boisterous enemy. No, it is more cunning than that. It wears many faces. It may appear as the desire to check your phone, to clean the house, to do anything but sit down and do the work. It may take the form of fear of failure, fear of success, fear of judgment, or fear of the unknown. Resistance shows up as procrastination, as avoidance, as the belief that there is always tomorrow to begin. But in truth, resistance is relentless. It does not relent when we ignore it. It does not pause when we convince ourselves that we deserve a break. It waits patiently, like a shadow, and follows us wherever we go. It feeds on our hesitation, on our indecision, on our reluctance to face the uncomfortable truth of our potential. It grows stronger each time we yield to its subtle influence. Resistance is universal. Every artist, every writer, every creator, every person who has ever attempted to step into their true calling has faced it. It is the force that keeps us from doing the very thing we know we are meant to do, and it is the force that we must learn to recognize, confront, and ultimately overcome. What makes resistance so powerful is its ability to make us believe that it is us. It convinces us that our fears, doubts, and hesitation are intrinsic parts of our character, that we are simply not the kind of person who can achieve our goals. But this is a lie. Resistance is not a reflection of our true selves. It is a force that exists solely to keep us from realizing who we are and what we are capable of. Recognizing resistance is the first step in overcoming it. Once we understand that resistance is not a reflection of our worth, but an external force seeking to keep us small, we gain the power to face it head-on. We no longer see our fears and doubts as obstacles that define us. We see them for what they are: temporary barriers that can be dismantled with perseverance, focus, and belief in our own potential. The nature of resistance is to keep us from our greatest work. It does not want us to create, to express, to give, to serve. It will do everything it can to prevent us from stepping into our greatness. But in understanding its nature, we disempower it. We realize that its grip can be loosened and eventually released when we decide to act in spite of it. In this chapter, we will explore the various phases of resistance and how it shows up in our lives. We will examine how it works in subtle ways and how it exploits our deepest fears and insecurities. But more importantly, we will discuss how to face it with courage, persistence, and an unwavering commitment to our creative work. Facing and recognizing resistance. In order to confront resistance, we must first recognize it. Often, we are unaware of how it silently weaves itself into our daily lives. Its power lies in its ability to remain hidden, disguised as something else: distractions, doubts, fears, and even self-justifications. But the moment we acknowledge it, it loses its power. Resistance no longer remains a mysterious force standing between us and our true work. It becomes something we can confront directly, something that we can see and address. Resistance thrives in moments of hesitation. Every time we delay, we give it more room to grow. It capitalizes on our reluctance to step outside of our comfort zone, to take action, to create. But when we make the choice to act, despite our doubts, we begin to take away its strength. By showing up and doing the work, we deny resistance its power. Each time we decide to create, to write, to work, we push against its grip. The more we act in the face of fear and discomfort, the weaker resistance becomes. Resistance is not merely a mental obstacle. Manifests in every aspect of our lives. It whispers in our ear at the moments when we are about to do something meaningful. Not yet, it says. You're not ready. It tells us to wait until the time is right, until we have the perfect idea, the perfect conditions, or the perfect inspiration. But the truth is, the time is always now. Resistance convinces us that we need more, that we are not enough. But this is simply a way to delay our action, to keep us stuck in a cycle of hesitation. It is essential to recognize how resistance speaks to us. It takes many forms: procrastination, perfectionism, and fear, among others. It can show up as an inner voice that tells us we'll fail, that we're not good enough, or that we'll be judged. It convinces us that the risk of putting ourselves out there is too great, that failure is inevitable. But all of this is a deception. Fear is not a sign to stop. It is a signal that we are about to grow, that we are about to step into unknown territory where the magic happens. When we recognize that resistance is not our truth, we begin to reclaim our power. We understand that the doubts and fears it generates are part of the process, not an indication that we are incapable or unworthy. These feelings do not define us. They are simply part of the path to creation. We can choose to step forward in spite of them. Every time we decide to do the work, to keep going despite the discomfort, we move closer to the success we seek. Resistance also thrives on our self-doubt. It convinces us that we are not enough, that others are more deserving, more talented, or more capable. It feeds on the comparison game, on our tendency to measure ourselves against others and feel inadequate. But this, too, is a lie. The work we are called to do is unique to us. No one else can do it in the way that we can. When we let go of the belief that we must be perfect, that we must compare ourselves to others, we allow ourselves to simply be. We allow the creative process to flow through us naturally, without resistance. One of the most deceptive ways that resistance shows up is through perfectionism. Resistance uses perfectionism to keep us from finishing, to keep us from sharing our work with the world. It convinces us that we must get everything exactly right before we put it out there. But the truth is, perfection does not exist. Every work of creation, every piece of art, is a process. It is an ongoing journey. The work does not need to be perfect to be valuable, it only needs to be authentic. When we recognize that perfectionism is just another form of resistance, we free ourselves from its grip. We stop waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect piece of work to emerge. Instead, we take action, knowing that the creative process is fluid, not fixed. The moment we allow ourselves to finish, to move forward despite imperfections, we release ourselves from the paralysis that perfectionism causes. Finally, resistance thrives on distractions. It keeps us busy with tasks that feel urgent but are not important. It convinces us that we need to check our email, respond to messages, clean the house, or indulge in anything that pulls us away from the work we are meant to do. Distractions feel comforting because they allow us to avoid the discomfort of creation. But distractions are just another trick. They are part of the resistance cycle that keeps us stuck in a loop of unproductive activity. Recognizing resistance for what it is, an obstacle that keeps us from doing the work, is the first step to overcoming it. We must understand that it is not a reflection of our potential, but an external force trying to keep us small, to keep us from fulfilling our true purpose. Once we recognize resistance, we can choose to push against it, and in doing so, we step into the power that is ours by divine right, the power to create, to serve, and to express our truest selves. Chapter 2. Combating Resistance. Turning Pro Part 1. The shift from amateur to professional to overcome resistance. One of the most powerful shifts we must make is moving from the mindset of an amateur to that of a professional. The amateur waits for inspiration, for the right mood, for the perfect conditions before they begin. They let fear, doubt, and procrastination rule their actions. But the professional is different. The professional is someone who has made a conscious decision to show up, no matter what, whether they feel inspired or not, whether the conditions are ideal or not. The professional does the work. The amateur, by contrast, is constantly at war with resistance. Resistance tells them that the work is too difficult, that they don't have what it takes, or that it's not the right time to start. Resistance encourages the amateur to take the easy road, to put things off, to do something else. The amateur gives in to these excuses because they don't have the discipline or the commitment to keep going in the face of adversity. The amateur may start the work but is quick to abandon it when faced with discomfort, uncertainty, or failure. Professional, however, understands that discomfort is an inevitable part of the creative process. The professional knows that failure is not a roadblock but a part of the journey, a necessary stepping stone to success. The professional does not wait for everything to fall into place or for the perfect inspiration to strike. They take the work seriously, so seriously that they commit to it fully, without exception. They make their art, their work, their creative pursuit a priority, and they show up every day, even when it feels difficult, even when the work seems unimportant. Turning pro requires a deep shift in mindset. It's about viewing your craft not as a hobby or a casual interest, but as a sacred duty. It means showing up with the same level of dedication and discipline that a professional athlete brings to training or a doctor brings to their patients. The professional understands that their work has value, and they treat it with the respect it deserves. They don't leave it to chance, they commit to the process. This shift to professionalism also requires a new attitude toward failure and success. The amateur fears failure, seeing it as a reflection of their worth or talent. But the professional understands that failure is simply part of the learning process. It is not a reflection of their abilities, but rather a necessary part of the journey toward mastery. The professional is not discouraged by mistakes. Instead, they use each failure as an opportunity to improve, to grow, and to refine their work. The professional's focus is on the process, not the outcome. They are less concerned with external validation, praise, recognition, or fame, and more focused on doing the work itself. They understand that success is the natural byproduct of sustained effort and disciplined action. Instead of waiting for motivation to strike, the professional relies on consistency and commitment to keep them moving forward, even on days when they feel uninspired or discouraged. This shift from amateur to professional requires self-discipline. The amateur allows distractions, excuses, and self-doubt to dictate their actions. The professional, on the other hand, recognizes these distractions as resistance and does not allow them to derail the work. The professional is not swayed by the fleeting emotions of the moment. Instead, they show up with purpose, regardless of how they feel. They understand that the most important thing is not how they feel about the work, but whether they do it. Every day is an opportunity to honor the commitment they have made to their craft. One of the defining characteristics of the professional is their ability to work through the discomfort. Resistance often shows up when we feel vulnerable, when we are about to create something new or step into unfamiliar territory. The amateur often turns back when they feel discomfort or uncertainty. They believe that discomfort is a sign that they're not ready, that something is wrong. But the professional knows that discomfort is simply a part of the process. It's the price we pay for growth. The professional doesn't shy away from it. They move through it. They trust that the discomfort will eventually give way to clarity and inspiration. The professional also has a different relationship with time. They do not wait for the perfect moment to begin. They understand that there is no such thing as the right time to start. They begin now, with what they have, where they are. They understand that time is a precious resource, and they do not waste it on distractions or procrastination. They are diligent in using their time wisely, knowing that every moment spent on the work brings them closer to their goal. This commitment to the work is not just a matter of routine, but also of deep respect for the craft. The professional understands that mastery takes time and effort. They do not seek shortcuts. They do not look for ways to bypass the hard work that is required to grow and improve. Instead, they embrace it. They honor the process, the practice, and the discipline that it takes to become truly great at what they do. The professional treats their work as sacred, an offering to the world and a reflection of their inner truth. To become a professional, we must stop waiting for motivation. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes. It cannot be relied upon to carry us through the difficult days, the days when resistance is loudest. The professional understands that motivation will not always be there, but that their commitment to the work will. The professional has learned that motivation follows action. By showing up every day, by doing the work, the professional generates their own motivation. They understand that the most powerful thing they can do is to keep moving forward. This is the essence of turning pro. It is about discipline, consistency, and a deep commitment to the work. The professional knows that greatness is not achieved through bursts of inspiration or by waiting for the perfect moment. It is achieved through dedication, persistence, and showing up day after day. Despite the fear, the doubt, and the distractions, the power of commitment and consistency. One of the key hallmarks of the professional is their commitment to the work. This commitment is not a fleeting feeling or a temporary burst of inspiration. It is a deep, unwavering resolve to show up every single day, regardless of circumstances, and do the work. Commitment is what sets the professional apart from the amateur. The amateur may be inspired one day, motivated by a burst of energy or passion, but the professional knows that motivation is unreliable. The professional understands that if they rely solely on motivation, they will never make progress. Instead, they rely on commitment, the promise to themselves to continue, even when the work becomes difficult, boring, or uncomfortable. The professional knows that the work is not about feeling good, but about showing up, no matter what. This commitment is what allows the professional to overcome resistance. Resistance works by convincing us that we are not ready, that the timing is not right, that we should wait until we feel inspired or confident. But the professional sees through these illusions. They understand that waiting for the perfect conditions is a trap, a trick of resistance designed to keep them from doing the work. The professional chooses to act anyway, even when they don't feel ready, even when they don't feel motivated. Commitment also requires consistency. The professional shows up every day, even on the days when they don't feel like it, when they'd rather do something else. The professional understands that consistency is the key to progress. It is not the one burst of effort that creates success, but the steady, daily action that adds up over time. The professional knows that even small steps, taken consistently, will lead to great progress. Every day they commit to their craft, they move closer to mastery. The power of consistency lies in its ability to break down resistance. Resistance thrives when we give in to the temptation of excuses or distractions. It flourishes when we procrastinate, when we hesitate, and when we put off the work for another day. But when we commit to doing the work every day, no matter how small the task, we begin to dissolve the power of resistance. Each time we choose consistency over hesitation, we strengthen our creative muscle and become more immune to the influence of resistance. Consistency also helps us build momentum. The professional understands that the hardest part of the creative process is often simply starting. Once they begin, they know that the momentum of consistent action will carry them forward. Momentum makes it easier to continue, to push past resistance, and to keep going even when challenges arise. The professional understands that the first step is often the hardest, but that once they get started, the work becomes easier. With each day they show up, they build a positive feedback loop that propels them forward. This momentum, however, is not just about quantity, it's about quality too. The professional's commitment is to the process itself, not just to the output. They focus on doing the work well, on improving their craft with every attempt. They are not simply trying to complete a task, they are striving to create something meaningful, something that reflects their true self. The professional is committed not just to the act of creation, but to the pursuit of excellence. They understand that every piece of work is an opportunity to grow, to refine their skills, and to deepen their understanding of their craft. One of the most important aspects of commitment is discipline. The professional is disciplined not only in showing up every day, but also in how they approach the work. They don't allow distractions to pull them away. They don't let external circumstances dictate their actions. They create a routine, a structure, that helps them stay on track. They understand that creating great work requires focus and dedication, and they are willing to make the sacrifices necessary to stay disciplined. The professional also practices self-care to maintain their commitment and consistency. They know that to do great work, they must take care of themselves physically, emotionally, and mentally. The work is demanding, and if the professional neglects their well-being, they will burn out. Self-care is not about indulgence, but about ensuring that they are able to give their best to the work. This includes rest, exercise, and maintaining a balance between work and personal life. By taking care of their mind and body, the professional is able to sustain their commitment over the long haul. The beauty of commitment and consistency is that, over time, they begin to snowball. The professional doesn't need to rely on big moments of inspiration or external validation. They trust in the process, knowing that every day they show up, they are creating something of value. The more they commit to the work, the more they become attuned to their craft. They learn to trust their instincts, to move through resistance with ease, and to create effortlessly. The work becomes second nature, and the professional is able to produce at a level they never thought possible. Ultimately, commitment and consistency are about trusting in the process, trusting in the work, and trusting in themselves. The professional understands that every day spent working is a step toward mastery, and they trust that the effort will pay off in the end. They may not always see immediate results, but they know that by staying committed, by showing up every day, they are laying the foundation for future success. Overcoming resistance through action. The most powerful weapon we have against resistance is action. Resistance thrives in our hesitation, in our refusal to begin. It lives in the gap between intention and execution. But the moment we take action, we rob resistance of its power. Action propels us forward, and it is only through consistent action that we break free from the grip of fear and doubt. The professional knows that to overcome resistance, they must keep moving. It doesn't matter whether the work is perfect. What matters is that the work gets done. Action is the antidote to fear, procrastination, and the inertia that resistance creates. The moment we take the first step, we disrupt the cycle of self and hesitation. By simply showing up and doing the work, we immediately take back control of the creative process. We reclaim our power and momentum. Action is powerful because it transforms our mental state. When we act, we move beyond the mental chatter of doubt and insecurity. We stop overthinking and start doing. Resistance cannot thrive when we are in motion. It only has power when we allow it to stop us from moving. By taking action, we immediately take back control of the creative process. We reclaim our power and momentum. Action is also a powerful way to create momentum. The professional understands that the hardest part of any project is often starting. The longer we wait to act, the more time we give resistance to convince us that we can't do it, that we should wait, that we are not ready. But the moment we take the first step, something magical happens. The work begins to flow. Ideas start to come more easily. Resistance loses its grip as we move forward, step by step. The act of starting is the most crucial action because it sets everything else in motion. That the professional understands that progress comes through consistent effort. They do not expect immediate results, and they do not let small setbacks discourage them. Every action, no matter how small, is a step in the right direction. The professional does not wait for the perfect idea or the perfect time. They trust that by showing up and doing the work, the creative process will unfold. By taking action, they gain clarity, they refine their craft, and they move closer to their ultimate goal. Every small step adds up over time, and before they know it, they have created something significant. Action also helps us build discipline. The more we take action, the more we strengthen our discipline. Discipline is not something we are born with. It is something we cultivate through consistent effort. The professional knows that their discipline will only grow if they show up every day, regardless of how they feel. By committing to daily action, they create a routine that reinforces their discipline. Discipline becomes a habit, and once it is established, it makes it easier to continue. Resistance cannot stand against a disciplined professional when action becomes part of our routine. We push through resistance without even thinking about it. One of the key aspects of action is trusting the process. The professional does not demand instant gratification. They understand that great work takes time. Success is not immediate, and it is not linear. The journey is full of setbacks, challenges, and moments of doubt. But the professional trusts that by continuing to show up and do the work, the results will eventually come. They don't need instant gratification. They understand that creation is a slow, organic process. Each day they commit to their craft. They are building towards something greater. Trusting the process also means letting go of the need for perfection. Resistance wants us to believe that the work must be flawless before it can be shared. But the professional knows that perfection is a myth. The key to creating great work is not to wait for the perfect moment or the perfect idea, but to take action imperfectly. The first draft is never perfect. The first attempt is never flawless. The professional understands that imperfection is part of the journey. Is through the process of creating that the work evolves into something meaningful. One of the most powerful tools the professional uses to overcome resistance is the ritual of daily action. A ritual creates a structure for the work, and it removes the need for motivation. Motivation is fleeting, it comes and goes. But when we build a ritual, we make the work a habit, something that is no longer dependent on how we feel in the moment. The ritual becomes the foundation upon which we build our creative output. A ritual helps us show up, even when we don't feel like it. It establishes a consistent, reliable routine that keeps us moving forward. The professional knows that they don't need to wait for inspiration to strike. They can create the conditions for inspiration by showing up every day. The ritual itself becomes a commitment, a promise that no matter what, the work will get done. The professional also understands that consistency is what separates them from the amateur. The amateur waits for motivation, for the perfect moment, for the right set of circumstances. The professional knows that consistency is the key to success. It's the repeated act of showing up, day after day, that leads to mastery. The professional knows that motivation will not always be there, but their commitment to the work will. They understand that the most powerful thing they can do is to keep moving forward. This is the essence of turning pro. It is about discipline, consistency, and a deep commitment to the work. The professional knows that greatness is not achieved through bursts of inspiration or by waiting for the perfect moment. It is achieved through dedication, persistence, and showing up day after day, despite the fear, the doubt, and the distractions. Chapter 3: Beyond Resistance, The Sacred Work of Creation, Part 1. The professional understands that the battle with resistance does not end with simply showing up and doing the work. The real journey begins once we've committed to overcoming the forces that hold us back, and it leads us to something even more profound, the sacredness of the work itself. Creation is not just a task, it is an act of divine alignment, an offering of one's truest self to the world. When we create, we step into a space where our individual will merges with the larger cosmic flow. We tap into something greater than ourselves. In this space, the work we do becomes a sacred act, one that reflects not just our abilities or desires, but our connection to the universe. The professional knows that their work is not just for personal gain or success. It is an offering to the world, a sacred duty to express what lies within. This understanding changes everything. The professional is no longer merely trying to make a name for themselves or gain external validation. They are creating for something far deeper and more meaningful. This is what makes the work sacred. When we engage in creative work with the knowledge that it is sacred, we are no longer concerned with the superficial rewards of fame or money. We recognize that true fulfillment lies not in the outcome, but in the act of creation itself. We create because it is who we are, because it is what we are called to do. Our creations are not commodities to be sold or judged, but expressions of our inner truth, our essence, and our connection to the larger cosmic dance. In this sacred space, we find that the work becomes a channel through which we connect to something higher. Resistance may still show up, but it no longer has the same power. We recognize it as an impersonal force, one that cannot deter us from our deeper purpose. When we see our work as a sacred calling, resistance loses its ability to stop us. We move through the difficulties, the self-doubt, and the fear with grace, knowing that we are aligned with our true purpose. This alignment with the sacred also involves a sense of humility. The professional understands that they are not the sole creators of their work. They are merely the vessel, the conduit through which the creative energy flows. The work is not solely theirs. It is a gift that comes from the universe, from the divine, and they are humbled by the opportunity to bring it into the world. This humility keeps the professional grounded, reminding them that they are part of something much larger than themselves. When we create from this place of humility and alignment, we experience a shift. The work is no longer something we have to do, but something we get to do. We step into a state of flow, where the work takes on a life of its own. We are no longer fighting resistance, we are simply moving with it, allowing it to guide us forward. The work becomes effortless, and in that effortlessness, we find the deepest fulfillment. The professional does not create out of ego or desire for external rewards. They create because creation is their nature. It is their highest calling, the very essence of who they are. They know that by engaging in this sacred process, they align themselves with the energy of the universe. They are part of a greater cycle, a cosmic rhythm that connects all creators and all creations. In this space, the professional understands that true prosperity is not measured by the outcome of the work, but by the work itself. The satisfaction comes not from accolades, financial success, or external validation, but from the act of creation. The process itself is the reward. The more the professional commits to their craft, the more they tap into the flow of creative energy that propels them forward. As we engage in this sacred work, we also understand that the work will evolve. It is a living thing, constantly shifting and changing as we grow. The professional knows that the work is never truly finished. It is a process that continues to unfold as long as we remain committed to it. This awareness frees the professional from the burden of perfectionism. They understand that the work will never be perfect, and that's okay. Perfection is not the goal. The journey is. When we embrace the sacred nature of our work, we also embrace the idea of divine timing. The professional understands that everything happens in its own time. The work will unfold when it is meant to, and the right opportunities will appear when we are ready. Resistance may try to convince us that we are not moving fast enough, that we need to achieve more, do more, be more. But the professional knows that they are on their path, that they are doing the work, and that everything else will fall into place when the time is right. Ultimately, the sacred work of creation is not about the end result, it is about the process. The professional finds joy and fulfillment in the work itself. They understand that the act of creating is a spiritual practice, one that allows them to connect with their deepest self and with the divine flow of the universe. This understanding transforms the creative journey from a battle against resistance into a path of self-discovery and spiritual growth. The professional knows that every moment spent creating is a gift, a step toward alignment with their true purpose. They no longer fear the work, they welcome it. They know that in doing so, they are becoming the fullest expression of who they are meant to be. The sacred work of creation is an offering not just to the world, but to themselves, to the universe, and to the divine. When we step into the sacredness of creation, we begin to recognize that the work we do is not just a personal endeavor. It is part of something much larger than ourselves. Each act of creation is a piece of the universe's grand design, an offering to the collective energy that binds us all together. By engaging in this work, we become channels for something divine, something timeless. We are not merely expressing our ideas, but we are tapping into a greater cosmic flow that has existed long before us and will continue long after we are gone. This understanding shifts the focus of the work from what we can get from it to what we can give through it. The professional no longer views creation as a personal pursuit for external validation. Instead, they view it as a sacred act that serves the greater good. They know that their creations have the potential to impact others in ways that are beyond their understanding. The work is no longer just about them, it is about the world, the people who will encounter it, and the ripple effect it will have on the universe. This shift in perspective allows the professional to let go of expectations. They no longer worry about how the work will be received. They don't measure their success by external accolades, recognition, or material gain. Their fulfillment comes from knowing that they are doing what they are called to do, that they are in alignment with their true purpose. This understanding frees the professional from the pressure to perform or achieve. They create because it is their sacred duty, not because they need to prove anything to anyone. The sacredness of creation also brings with it a profound sense of peace. When we align with the divine flow of creativity, we step into a space of calmness and clarity. We no longer feel overwhelmed by the weight of expectation or fear of failure. The professional knows that the work will unfold in its own time, and that every step of the process is part of the divine plan. There is no rush, no sense of urgency, because the professional trusts that everything is happening exactly as it should. They know that by showing up and doing the work, they are fulfilling their role in the larger cosmic narrative. In this space of peace, the professional is able to tap into a deep well of inspiration. They no longer struggle to find ideas or force the creative process. Instead, they allow the work to flow through them. Ideas come to them effortlessly, and inspiration strikes when they are least expecting it. This is the power of the divine connection. The creative process becomes effortless, natural, and almost intuitive. The professional is no longer trying to make things happen. They are simply allowing the work to emerge. As the professional continues their journey, they come to understand that the work is never truly finished. It is an ongoing, evolving process. Each creation leads to another, and each work builds upon the last. The professional embraces this continuous cycle of creation, knowing that it is a lifelong journey. They understand that there is always more to learn, more to discover, and more to contribute. The work is not something to be completed and put away. It is something that grows with them, evolving as they evolve. In this process of continuous creation, the professional also learns to embrace imperfection. Resistance often makes us fear that our work is not good enough, that it is flawed, or that it will never be perfect. But the professional knows that imperfection is part of the beauty of the creative process. They no longer strive for perfection, because they understand that perfection is a moving target. It is subjective, and it is irrelevant. What matters is that the work is authentic, that it comes from the heart, and that it serves the higher purpose of the creator. The professional accepts the imperfections in their work as part of their unique journey, knowing that it is the imperfections that make the work real and human. The professional also learns to release their attachment to the outcome. They no longer measure the success of their work by the number of accolades or the amount of recognition it receives. Instead, they focus on the process, on doing the work with integrity, dedication, and love. They know that the work is valuable not because of its reception, but because of the intention and energy that went into creating it. In this way, they are free from the pressure of success or failure. They create for the joy of creating, for the love of the process, and for the satisfaction of contributing to something greater than themselves. As the professional continues their sacred journey of creation, they come to understand that the work is not just about them, it is about the world, about the people who will experience it, and about the divine energy that flows through them. Each creation is a contribution to the larger universe, a piece of the puzzle that adds depth and meaning to the cosmic order. The professional understands that their work has a ripple effect, and that it will touch lives in ways they may never fully understand, but this is not the point. The point is to create with purpose, to create with love, and to create with a deep respect for the divine energy that flows through them in this sacred space. The professional also comes to realize that the work is the reward. They no longer look for external validation or material success to measure their worth. They find fulfillment in the process itself, in the act of creation. Every day spent working on their craft is a victory. Every piece of work, no matter how small, is a step forward on their journey. The professional understands that the creative process is not just about producing, it is about becoming. With each piece of work, the professional grows, evolves, and becomes more aligned with their true purpose. As the professional continues their creative journey, they begin to understand that true prosperity comes not from external achievements or material rewards, but from the fulfillment that arises from doing the work itself. In this sacred space of creation, the work becomes a reflection of their highest self, an expression of their connection to something greater than themselves. The professional knows that when they show up every day and commit to the work, they are not only serving their own creative potential, but also contributing to the world in ways that transcend their own understanding. The act of creation, when viewed as a sacred practice, has the ability to transform the creator. As they move through the process, the professional becomes more attuned to their own inner wisdom. They tap into a deep well of creativity, a flow that transcends their individual ego and connects them to a larger, universal energy. This connection to the divine flow is what makes the work sacred. It is no longer about the self, but about the larger cosmic dance in which all creators participate. The professional, through their work, becomes a conduit for this energy, channeling it into the world through their creations. This sacredness also imbues the work with a sense of purpose. The professional understands that their creative work is part of a larger, divine plan. It is not just about the finished product, but about the energy they put into the work, the intention behind it, and the way it connects them to the larger fabric of life. Every piece of work they create becomes an offering to the universe, a contribution to the collective whole. The professional sees themselves as part of something much greater than their own desires or aspirations. This deeper understanding of the sacredness of creation also helps the professional to release their attachment to the outcome. The desire for external recognition or validation becomes less important. Instead, the professional focuses on the act of creation itself. They know that true fulfillment does not come from fame or fortune, it comes from the satisfaction of doing the work with integrity and purpose. By letting go of the need for validation, the professional frees themselves from the grip of resistance. They no longer need to prove anything to anyone. Their value lies in the work itself, in the energy they put into it, and in the way it reflects their true self. In this way, the professional is able to step into their authentic power. They no longer seek approval or permission from external sources. They trust their own voice, their own intuition, and their own ability to create. They are no longer bound by the limitations of fear, doubt, or self-judgment. They know that their work is sacred, and that by committing to it, they are fulfilling their divine purpose. The professional's confidence comes not from external validation, but from the knowledge that they are aligned with their true self and their highest calling. The sacred nature of creation also allows the professional to embrace the process, rather than focusing solely on the outcome. They understand that creation is an ongoing journey, and that each step along the way is part of the larger creative cycle. They do not rush the process or force the work to unfold according to their own timetable. Instead, they trust in the timing of the universe, knowing that each piece of work, each moment of creation, is exactly where it needs to be. This acceptance of the creative process also leads to a deeper sense of patience. The professional knows that great work takes time. It is not something that can be rushed or forced into existence. The professional understands that the process is just as important as the end result, and that every moment spent working is a valuable part of the creative journey. By embracing the process and trusting in the timing of the work, the professional is able to remain patient, even when the results are not immediately apparent. The professional also comes to understand that the work is not just for them, it is for the world, for the people who will encounter it, and for the greater good. The professional knows that their creations have the power to impact others, to inspire, to heal, and to connect. The work becomes a vehicle for transformation, not just for the creator, but for those who experience it. The professional understands that the impact of their work may not always be visible or immediate, but it will ripple out into the world in ways that they may never fully comprehend. This understanding of the work as a sacred offering also allows the professional to release any fear of failure. The professional knows that failure is not a reflection of their worth, but simply a part of the journey. The professional is not afraid to take risks, to experiment, or to make mistakes. They understand that failure is an inevitable part of the creative process, and that it is through failure that they learn, grow, and refine their craft. Failure does not deter the professional. It teaches them, strengthens them, and moves them closer to their true potential. Ultimately, the professional's relationship with resistance transforms. Rather than seeing resistance as an external force that must be defeated, the professional learns to see it as a part of the creative process. They understand that resistance is not something to be feared, but something to be moved through. With each step they take, the professional becomes more skilled at navigating resistance, using it as fuel to move forward rather than allowing it to stop them. The professional learns to embrace the tension between resistance and creation, understanding that this tension is what gives their work its power. By fully stepping into their creative power and understanding the sacredness of the work, the professional becomes unstoppable. They no longer fear the obstacles, the doubts, or the setbacks. They know that they are connected to something much larger than themselves, and that their work is part of the greater cosmic flow. In this way, the professional transcends resistance and steps into their highest potential, creating not just for personal gain, but as an offering to the world, a contribution to the divine order of creation. Conclusion: the war will continue. The battle with resistance is ongoing, is ever present, constantly working to pull us away from our truest selves, our highest calling, and our creative purpose. Resistance does not simply vanish once we've made the decision to face it. It is a force that shows up, in one form or another, at every stage of the creative journey. Whether we are just beginning our work, or whether we have been creating for years, resistance will always find a way to make itself known. But it is through embracing this ongoing battle with resistance that we find our true power. The real victory in this war is not about defeating resistance once and for all. Such a thing is impossible. Instead, the victory lies in showing up every single day, in committing to the work no matter the external circumstances, no matter the doubts, and no matter the internal voices that tell us to stop. Each day spent doing the work is a small act of rebellion against resistance. It is a daily declaration that we are committed to our creative purpose, and that no matter how difficult the journey may seem, we will continue to create. We will not wait for the right moment or the perfect conditions. We will create with the resources we have, with the inspiration we are given, and with the faith that by continuing to show up, we will find our way. The battle with resistance is not something to be feared, it is something to be embraced. Through this battle, we cultivate inner strength, we build resilience, and we deepen our understanding of ourselves and our creative process. Every challenge we face, every obstacle we overcome, brings us closer to our truest potential. The act of creation itself becomes a form of spiritual growth, a means to develop not just our creative skills, but also our capacity for patience, perseverance, and trust. By embracing the daily practice of creation, we also cultivate a deep sense of inner peace. Resistance thrives on uncertainty, doubt, and fear. But by showing up each day, by doing the work, we quiet those voices. We learn to trust in the process, to trust in the work, and to trust in ourselves. Every moment spent creating is an act of faith, a belief that no matter how difficult the journey may seem, the work is worth it. It is a path that leads not only to creative fulfillment, but also to spiritual peace. This daily practice is not just about creating for the sake of productivity or achievement. It is about creating as a form of self-discovery. Each piece of work, each act of creation, brings us closer to understanding who we are and what we are meant to contribute to the world. By committing to the work every day, we are engaging in a deeply transformative practice, one that connects us to our highest purpose and brings us into alignment with the divine flow of the universe to continue on the path of creation. We must align our daily actions with our true purpose. Our creative calling is not something that can be ignored or postponed. It is something that we must live with every day. The work we do is not just about external success or validation. It is about living in alignment with our deeper self, and contributing to the world in a way that is true to who we are. Each day, we have the opportunity to take steps toward that alignment. The professional understands that commitment to their creative work is not dependent on external rewards or recognition. It is not about achieving immediate success or gaining fame. It is about staying committed to the work, regardless of how it is received by others. The professional knows that the work itself is the reward, and that success is not defined by the outcome, but by the integrity with which they engage in the process. By aligning our actions with our true purpose, we find a sense of fulfillment that goes beyond external validation. This fulfillment comes from knowing that we are doing the work we are meant to do, that we are living in a way that is congruent with our deepest values. When we commit to our creative calling, we align ourselves with the flow of prosperity, not just materially, but spiritually as well. True prosperity is not about wealth, but about a deep, abiding sense of peace and purpose that comes from doing the work we are meant to do. The path of creation is a journey of faith, of trust in the unseen process. We may not always know how the work will turn out, and we may not always receive the external validation we desire, but we trust that the work is valuable, not because of its recognition, but because it is an expression of our true self. It is an offering to the world, a contribution to the greater good. When we live in alignment with our true purpose, we attract the right energy into our lives. We draw people, opportunities, and circumstances that support our creative work. The more we commit to our calling, the more the universe aligns with us, providing the resources, inspiration, and connections we need to continue on our journey. Purpose-driven action attracts the flow of prosperity in all its forms, spiritually, emotionally, and materially. The reward of creation is not found in fame or fortune. It is found in the growth we experience, in the fulfillment we feel when we engage in the work that we are called to do. The work itself is the reward. It is the act of creation that brings us the deepest sense of joy, purpose, and satisfaction. As we continue on this path, we come to realize that the real treasure is not in the finished product, but in the journey itself. In embracing the process of creation, we begin to see that the true measure of success is not in what we create, but in how we create. It is not in the outcome, but in the act of creating. When we create from a place of inner peace and alignment, we attract prosperity not just in material terms, but in spiritual and emotional wealth as well. We become richer in the things that truly matter: self-awareness, connection to our higher purpose, and the ability to serve the world through our unique gifts. The journey of creation is not an easy one, but it is a sacred path. Resistance will continue to show up, as it always does, but with each day we face it and choose to do the work, we move closer to our true potential. We must trust in the process, trust in the work, and trust in ourselves. We must continue to show up, to face resistance daily, and to create with integrity, purpose, and faith. The path to silent abundance lies not in external success, but in the alignment of our actions with our true calling. When we create for the sake of creation itself, when we release the need for validation, we discover the deepest fulfillment. We become the fullest expression of who we are meant to be, and in doing so, we contribute to the world in ways we cannot yet imagine. So, embrace the journey, trust the process, keep creating, even when resistance appears. The reward is not in what you achieve, but in who you become through the act of creation. The war will continue, but each day you show up, you claim a victory over resistance, and move closer to the abundant life that is already yours.